Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Us 3 podcast. And this is a slightly different episode. Of course, we're all us three are here again. No guest this week, but we're basically, when we don't have a guest, we're going to get to know us three slightly better.
Yeah, because we did the podcast with Connor where we got to know manager and we realised you don't actually know us.
Yeah, exactly.
So we thought we'd...
Slightly big-headed, but, you know, it's fine.
Yeah,
get to know each other inside and out.
Exactly.
But I suppose if we're talking to people... Anyway, today
this week,
absolutely sunny. It's very, very sunny. You probably
Lovely
just see that
weather.
on the camera. It's
Lovely
boiling. We're
weather.
all in shorts.
Yep.
It's cracking flags, as some northerners
I
would say.
wore shorts to our first ever lecture in person to person today.
Did you? And what-
I felt like I was a massive
were
alpha
you
move.
singled out,
Right.
or was there many people
Right,
who
but
weren't
I
in
feel like everyone else is in, tracksuit bottoms, jeans, in Josh Bailey walks, wearing shorts. That guy's the alpha.
Well,
Light sliders, toes out, or...
Nah, that's a bit weird, mate.
No, okay.
That's like cornflakes and mayonnaise.
Yeah,
it's a
that
bit
is.
weird.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, this
Freak.
week, the person we are interviewing is none other than Josh Bailey. Welcome to the podcast,
it was
mate.
done by a
Thank you.
random name generator.
Yeah,
so
it
Josh
was,
Bailey has
it
been
was.
selected this week to
Welcome.
have his podcast on him.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So this will
Thank you
be...
for having me.
It's an
No
interesting...
worries,
You've got an
no
interesting
worries.
life. You've had an interesting life.
Yeah, I'd say so.
What we're about to
been
get
fun.
into, it's probably going to be quite a deep podcast, this one,
Yeah,
we think.
I'd say so.
For a Monday afternoon, we're going to go
Yeah.
quite deep with it, I
Yeah,
think.
but realistically, we're all going to cry
sexual-
later because
no,
of football
sorry.
anyway, so it's fine.
Sorry?
I just, I went sexually deep.
If that's where you want this podcast to go, mate, we're on the wrong platform.
I was going to say, we haven't really prepared anything about that, but, if you want us to come back and go again. So, yeah, we
That's
can...
weird we did that at the same time.
So, I guess we start off early life, young Josh Bailey.
Well, I was born-
What was young Josh Bailey like, sort of primary school?
How big was your head?
Hey, I'll start
at your
with day
age?
one. Came out on his vagina.
Lovely.
That was an experience.
Lovely, well, we're going to have to blur that 'cause it's in the first, 2 minutes, so we'll
No,
get
you
them
don't
on
have to blur that. I said vagina. That's a
And
lovely,
again.
that's fine.
That's a third time.
Vagina.
That's a hat trick.
No, you can keep that in. But no, yeah. So that started well. Dad nearly dropped me on my head when I was a kid, and then didn't know I was fine.
Okay.
I actually know, even started off because I don't know if I could bring that bit up.
Not yet, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
No, that bit, the other bit.
What?
What other bit? What other bit, Josh?
I don't know
the
what you're on
bit,
about.
the bit how I was conceived.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I won't bring it up because my mum likes to keep it private.
That's fun.
I don't
that's
care. Everyone knows, but I don't care. So we won't bring that bit up.
No,
that's
yeah,
fun. Yeah, that's fine.
for your mum's sake.
But
We hadn't planned that bit, actually. We didn't think
you
we were
forget
going to
about
about
that.
that.
I mean, it's
yeah.
not that interesting.
No.
It's it
Yeah.
is quite interesting.
it is interesting because it's obviously more like different, but like
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
It's personal to you, but it's something that
It's quite
obviously
expensive.
private.
I was quite
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
I was. Anyway, my mum bought me in the black markets.
yeah,
That's what I was
transfer market snipes you for a good
Well, I mean, what
price.
do you want to know? What do you want to know?
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know?
Because you're quite like I don't know, cheeky, funny, smiley guy now. Were you always that
Bit of a
type of
dick.
guy in primary school? Sort of
I mean, I'm
early
not,
life?
no. I don't think so. When I was quite younger, I think I was very... I don't know, I was quite shy. I was quite quiet when I was younger. I think maybe I was always loud, but I wasn't always like an outgoing... Like, what age are you thinking? Primary school sort of age?
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
when you were younger than now, really.
I mean, okay.
So like your
I'll start-
earliest memories of like interaction.
Alright, so
with
year R, here I am, and the teacher...
Year R, sorry.
Year R. So like
Reception.
Reception.
Okay, okay.
So year R is a bit American.
Here I am,
and I like-
reception, teacher sits mum down and is like, so, Josh either has a disability or he's just a slow learner. Serious conversation that happened.
Yeah.
Still don't know which one it was.
How are they
Might have been a
pulling-
bit of both.
How are they pulling that out in reception? By the
Yeah,
way?
I'd
like,
pull
that's so early. That's something that
If
you'd
you
have
look
in
at
like.
the whole education in general, like they make judgments so early. It's
Yeah,
bloody
they do.
joke.
But they have to,
They
don't
do.
they? Because they have to get it established in order to address it when you get older.
But you're completely different, like
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
develop.
yeah.
But yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I think it was a slow learner, is what I had, and then that was interesting. And then year one, had a girlfriend for a while.
Nice.
Play from day on, then.
Mate, you know me.
Yeah.
Always got the girls around. We held hands.
Did you?
Yeah, in year one. Big
Okay.
boy stuff that.
Good say.
Do you speak to her now, or?
Yeah, still in
okay.
contact? Follow us now?
After that, actually, my best mate at the time, went out with her for about 5 years.
Did you
Long
speak
time,
to him? Did you
long
have a word
time.
with
Yeah,
him?
yeah, we were fine. It was a mutual agreement.
That's fine.
I remember as well one great story. It was in year one. I was climbing the climbing frame as you do.
Yeah.
With my best mate at the time, Casey Burton. This guy comes up.
Name
The
drop
name.
Casey.
Shout out
Okay,
Casey.
so-
Shout out Casey. Shout out Ryan.
This guy called Jack, and I won't give his surname. He comes up and we've been rivalries throughout life, and And he comes up to me as I'm climbing the thing, pushed me out the way. I'm like, Casey's my best friend now. Never saw Casey again.
You never saw him again?
No, we went to the same school, but we weren't best friends ever again.
Did he murder you?
No, Jack didn't. But rather, he climbed up the stairs. I never forgot that day. And I was very upset. So me and Casey weren't best friends.
So that's shaped you as a person.
Yeah.
That was such a funny moment in my life.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I was best friends with Luke Jones.
Luke Jones.
Luke Jones.
Good old Luke.
Yeah, I can
Go on,
name
Luke.
Luke Jones. Nice guy, really nice guy. And we were best friends. And then till year 3, and then me and Luke had a falling out. Okay, my best friend got stolen again. This time by Aiden.
You need to stamp your foot down, mate.
I know. And then
Come on, assert your dominance, mate. Assert your
and
dominance.
then along came Ewan.
Nice.
No, I keep in contact with all these people today.
Were you ever like groups of friends, or always just one at a time? Then a bit like exes, but it was just like one friend goes, my ex-friend,
Okay, so
my ex-friend.
So we had this. So I think when you properly the first proper obviously I was really good friends with Luke, and you went around each other's houses and stuff like that. Good fact about Luke actually. Held Luis Suarez's hand at Wembley for the FA Cup final.
Really?
Yeah, walked out with him at Wembley, won a competition.
Oh, that's
I
decent.
remember in year 5.
Did he bite him or?
Huh?
Did he bite him?
No, maybe that's what passed it on.
Yeah.
But
Maybe he bit Suarez
Yeah.
and then he.
Kinky.
Never know.
But anyway, so yeah, and I think in year 3 then you have a group. So I was really best mates with Ewan, and then I think we had Kyle. I've forgotten his name. I think I want to say it's Kyle Taylor. I want to say.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
If it's not, then
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's not that anyone's
then Harry, and we were like a friendship group. And to be fair, and we went to year 6 together in year 7, and I was never really a kid that was like, I don't know, I had an okay time in primary school. It wasn't like the best. It was it was okay, and it was it wasn't a great, it wasn't fun, and I think Harry wasn't the best. Nice guy now, great guy. But he was in year 6, and but when you're at the time, it feels shite. It feels
does,
shit.
yeah.
you're a kid, aren't you?
But I still remember
Yeah.
I still remember the feelings. But I still remember going around going around the house and getting really upset over stuff that was probably stupid now.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Was it so? Is it like?
When you're a kid,
is
it's
it like
everything,
bullying, or is it not?
no,
is
it
it just
wasn't bullying. I think it was just kind of arguing with your friends, and it was singling out, and it was to an extent.
Yeah.
But I'd say I was actually bullied. There was this kid, and I will name him. His name was Joseph Winston, and I will actually name him. And he made life hell.
What year is this? Secondary school.
Year 3 to about
Oh right. Okay.
year 6 probably. Because what thing was with us is we lived on the same block as him, and I remember it must have been year 3, and he was giving me shit, and we went to the same school as well, same classes. Punched him. I showed him who's boss. Made things worse.
I I'm gonna say.
Made things worse.
I
Mum
don't
told me to do
condone
it.
violence, but
He was, and then, yeah, it wasn't great, and because we moved house in year 6, and it's one of the reasons why we moved. And one of the particular moments as well was in year 6, and then where I think I've told you the story, haven't I? Where they were whipping me with trees.
Oh yeah.
They tied me up to
yeah.
a tree, whipping me a bit. It's not funny. Caused massive distress.
No. It's
Seriously, go on.
I'm just laughing at the fact that I'm imagining you now were tied to a tree. Obviously, when you were a kid, it's a bit different. But I'm imagining someone your age right now would be tied
I
to
do
a tree.
imagine someone between year 3 and 6 tied to a tree. That is
Gonna be.
kind of deep.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
And it wasn't great, and it did make life hell.
Did that affect your school ability to enjoy primary school? Because a lot of people don't remember it now. But
Yeah.
at the time, were you scared to go into school? Or was it a case of
I wasn't necessarily scared to go into school, but it does stick with you.
Yeah.
I still had a good time. Don't worry, I still have great memories, but I just think I wasn't the most conventional. I don't know. I was just kind of. Joseph was bullying. The way my group wasn't that much bullying. It was just a bit of picking on. But the thing with Joseph was bullying. That's really the time I've experienced bullying.
Yeah.
The most.
Did that when you're moving to? Because for me, when I moved to secondary school, I was shy and I didn't like it. Did that affect?
Can I just bring up to the audience? I 7-time once in year 3.
7 times.
7-time. I'm a fucking player. Cheers, mate. Respect.
Legend, mate. Legend.
Respect.
I'll shake your hand because I shook
I
his
had
hand.
7 girls, was dating every single one of them at the same time, then found out and chased me around the field.
Do you know what happened with me? Obviously, when this is not my podcast,
Yeah.
but I used to date a dinner lady, mate.
You dated a dinner lady?
And she now lives down my street, which is
You
even
dated
better.
No, go on. Please
Oh,
don't explain.
yeah, I was gonna
Please,
say, that's
come on,
gotta be
how
said.
did you date?
You'll have to
That's
wait
gotta
and
be
watch.
fake.
You'll have to wait and watch.
That's not a reason to stick around.
Was it was it a bit?
She used to give me extra good food.
Free mac and cheese, any kind of that stuff.
Not like-
food
not
or
cheese.
like actual? Oh no, of course not cheese. Sorry, yeah.
She wanted jeans.
She
Yeah,
did.
massive.
She was number 61, mate.
That's kind of kick.
Number 61. Anyway, yeah.
Have you had anything else with dinner ladies since? Or?
Not since.
Oh, we had a great dinner lady, D.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, was there any like teachers or dinner ladies that you
Well, no,
looked
so
up to?
it was like in year. I remember like in year 1, and I was trying out cheese strings. You know, when you're a kid, you go, "Mum, I want to try that."
Yeah.
And so we tried them out, and shock, didn't like them. They're disgusting.
Really?
I hate
Which,
cheese
no, it
strings.
depends which cheese strings you're on about, because the
Normal cheese
orange cheese
orange
strings are
ones
grim, they're
and-
plasticky, but the ones that you can actually peel are the
No, the
three-piece
peel
ones.
ones.
No, the
They're
peel
all, they're
three-piece
all
ones.
orange and yellow.
They're
They're
all
real
yeah.
cheese. They're
So-
plastic. But anyway, I didn't like it, so I hid it under my. And like, I tried to leave, and she wouldn't let me because there was a stupid rule. Did they have it at your school? You couldn't leave. You
You
didn't
leave
have
until
to
you're
do
eating your food.
No.
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah. It's bollocks. Yeah, it's
Surely
bollocks.
that's like
If
against
your
the law.
parents pack you something you don't like, they're sitting there like, this kid's not leaving.
Shit out for it.
He's not going. He's not
Shit
going.
out
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one rule at our school.
And then
We didn't live in a prison.
I remember that once. I remember my dad packed me salt and vinegar quavers. I was never been more angry in my life. I remember specifically how it made me feel. I was not happy.
And what emotions?
Is that why when I
Anger.
brought them the
Anger.
other week, you like, had a go at me for
Yeah,
buying
salt and vinegar quavers. I was like, what the bloody hell is he playing at? I was so angry. I've never felt anger like it. But anyway, and then so being the smart one that I was, I hid it under my flap, under like
Okay, smart.
and then
smart.
under
smart.
the you know, you had
Yeah,
a
yeah.
packed lunchbox,
Yeah.
hid it under the.
So there's just the cats just walked past the window.
Get in.
Didn't get
Hid it under the flap. I was fine. So yeah, another story as well from when we were trying. You ever try like foreign foods in primary school?
Yes.
We had like a
yeah.
couple of days.
We tried like
dedicated to it,
kiwi
yeah.
foods and like Fiji fruit and stuff. Don't know if that I might have just made that up. But anyway, I didn't like it. And you know how like I maybe don't do things when I don't want to do them. That, that thing. I may have just spit it out. So I chewed it and just spat it out.
Oh, that's
I had
great.
to clear it out. It went
Again,
all over the
nah,
chair.
again,
There's a reason they're tying you up on the field. Spat it all over someone's face, mate.
But no, yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, yeah, it wasn't great. Like it was okay. I think it's just one of those things where you look back on it and you don't care. But it's
Yeah.
one of the things that do shape you. I mean, I still had a great time.
Did that then
so.
affect secondary school going into that for you?
Secondary school was. I mean,
Yeah, because was there any
secondary school-
teachers that helped you through with the secondary
What,
school,
it-
primary school?
I mean, primary school you can't really name
No.
like any particular.
No.
I mean, we had Mrs. Ward. Who did you
Shams,
ever do the
yeah.
O2 choir thing? You know, like
Young Voices. Yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That was
If
mint,
you've
that
done
was mint.
that. Did you ever do it? I think it was a southern thing. So basically,
Mint,
all the
so good.
schools in like Kent, I think,
Yeah.
all went to like the O2 as a choir and
Yeah.
performed. Immense. It
Immense.
was so
They
good.
said before,
Do you remember
they're
Connie
all-
Talbot?
Yeah, Connie
We need
Talbot.
to get
We had
Connie
Connie
Talbot
Talbot
on
on the
this
podcast,
podcast.
yeah. Because she was on Britain's Got Talent, wasn't she? And then
Yes.
Yeah, did you have
Yes.
Randolph Matthews? The
I think
Don,
so.
And the no, it was
Connie Talbot, if you are listening, please come on this
please come on.
podcast. You are an inspiration to us all.
I remember what song she
Remember
sang. She
singing?
sang like the light up by like
Light
smoke.
up,
That one.
light
She
up.
did that.
As if you have a choice.
Yeah, she did that. And then
Sorry, Kai.
there was like an Irish folk band as well.
Yeah. But that was immense. And
Yeah,
like
that was
things
mint.
like that. And I also remember in year, I'll speak about it frequently about when I came third in the year 6 talent show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When I did a comedy skit. Where I did a Stacey Solomon impression, and she was stuck on top of Iceland's.
Can you do that,
Yeah,
Stacey?
any chance we
It's
can do it
behind
now?
me now. It's in the past. I'm not bringing it back
Oh,
up.
it's not shaping
So
now.
she was stuck on top of Iceland's, and then we did practical yoga afterwards, and I made the unfunniest guy funny. Sorry, Aidan. And I made the
You didn't have to name drop
Yeah.
him.
Name dropped about 10 people already.
We made the unfunniest guy funny, and that was a comeback story as well because I was kicked out this boy band I was meant to be in. They came 7th, I came 3rd.
There was always a boy band in their talent show as well. There's
Yeah,
always
there
like
was.
3 or 4. I can remember one in our school. I think they sang A-Team by Ed Sheeran.
I don't think we had one actually.
We did a lot of
We had two lads who did "We Are Young" dressed as old people, but that was about it.
clever.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I had a talent show. I had a High School Musical microphone. I went to sing out of it.
Oh, overrated.
Oh, good. They were good then.
They were good. The
my sister
microphones where
had
you
one,
play
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it is one of those things, and it did affect me secondary school. Like secondary school wasn't the first 2 years probably wasn't great, or year and a half. Like no, 2 years wasn't great.
Yeah.
And even then, it wasn't like the best. I remember. I mean, you don't do it, do you? But did you do the 11 plus?
Yeah.
So we did 11 plus, and I remember I was never I was never the brightest kid on paper at school. I've always had to work hard, and I really worked hard. My mum did push me. I ended up coming out with, I think I was 3 marks off of the passing 11 plus.
Yeah.
And I could have appealed it, but they advised me because we had a boys' school.
Yeah.
The 11 plus is massively bollocks.
No, it's massive.
Such a bollocks.
The thing is, the amount of kids that like pass the 11 plus, I got higher than them on my
What's
actual
it equivalent
GCSEs.
to?
mate.
Like, what is it?
It's basically like an entrance
SATs,
exam. Yeah, it's like SATs to get into a grammar school or a non-grammar.
Oh, so it's like cats.
Yeah, like cats. But
Except
the actual exam is like math. That maths was the only like logical
Maths,
one. There was
it was
like
maths.
verbal and non-verbal.
Maths, yeah.
Non-verbal
Verbal
was
and
shame.
non-verbal.
It was
I
like
haven't
literally
come
like,
out.
what is this shit? It's so weird.
No.
You don't get private schools get taught it. I had to, like I'm lucky enough. My parents paid for tutoring.
Yeah, I had
to get it
tutoring.
done,
Yeah, so I was like, and I got pushed, and I missed out by that. But like, so we have grammar schools and comprehensives, and
Right.
like grammar schools are supposed to be, if you get there, you're the most talented, and then basically it means that these kids then get. Grammar schools are rubbish. Like they are rubbish because if you're at the top, you're doing great. Like you're getting the most attention, you're getting the best teaching.
Yeah.
But if you're the bottom, you get forgotten about.
Yeah.
Because grammar schools, all they care about is results. Like, did you go to? I don't know.
Yeah,
if
no,
you
I
went to
was
grammar. Is that how you
grammar, yeah.
felt? Because I don't know where you were on like the table.
I was never at the top. Never at the top. I always had to like work hard to get to the top. They do praise a lot more of the people who do well.
Yeah.
But I'd say the people at the bottom, they almost, it's like if the kids aren't willing to work, they almost just kind of like just leave it. And at that point, that's where it's not.
I didn't really
where's
you went to a boys' school as well, didn't you?
Yeah, all boys from
Yeah.
7
Yeah,
to,
we didn't realise that till the
7 to 11. Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
7 to 11. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
You did as well.
Yeah.
I'm just great.
Well, fair enough.
fantastic.
I didn't, so.
Yeah, no. So yeah, and then I went to an all boys school, but it did affect me, because it wasn't again year 7 and year 7, 8 wasn't great at all.
No.
It was a lot like it was. I remember just like crying like on the field and stuff, especially, and it was. I think I've learned to become everything a lot less personally.
What was that down to?
I don't know. I think I've always, I'm always been a bit loud. I'm loud on. I'm a bit kind of like the personality thing. I can't tell you. Like looking back on it, I
So
really
it wasn't
can't
like a
tell
bullying
you.
thing or anything like that. It was,
I
Because
think it
it-
was
like-
bullying. Yeah. I don't know whether it wasn't the worst kind. It was bullying, but it wasn't like awful.
Yeah.
But there were days where I didn't want to go into school. Like there were days where I'd sit with my mum and do whatever I could to not go into school.
Yeah.
This is secondary school.
So I found the jump from year 6 to 7 harder than 13 to uni.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Like, it should
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
See,
without a doubt.
I was okay because I played. There's like 2 local villages in near where I live. Well, there's not 2, but there's 2 main ones.
Well, it
And
was your podcast, mate.
I'm just saying because I've had it easy. No, do you know what? No.
I was joking.
No, so basically what it was is I played football for the other village, and then all that village that I went to school in played for the other team. So I knew everyone going to secondary school. When the 2 villages came together, I knew the other school as well. So I was all right in that aspect. But that's what I was going to say.
No, I mean, yeah. So we had all boys, and I ended up going to the boys' school, and I
Yeah.
would say it was brilliant. It wasn't as bad as like what everyone else would do, but it was just getting picked on. It was comments about a lot about the size of my head. I think now I've grown into
No, I
it.
feel bad for asking how
Grown
big your
into
head
it.
was. You.
Yeah,
When you
I've
think
grown
grow into it, your head size
I
or
mean,
like
you
the
put me-
comments of the others. I don't know what you
and
meant.
until I bring it up, I don't have a big head.
No.
Yeah.
But when you it's like that thing like.
It's basically him saying no, but
No,
like,
no, because like it's one of the things that when you're at school and you're in the environment where everyone's known you as you're the kid with the big head,
Yeah.
it sticks with you. You don't lose that.
No.
And now
Yeah,
when you
it's
come
true.
into uni and no one notices you've got a big head because no one judges it.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't point out and said that everyone set the piss out your big head, I wouldn't have even thought about that. It's just like a thing because you get that
You say
label,
it.
don't you? You get the label attached.
So yeah, it was, and that was kind of the main thing. I was thinking about primary school, but I was the one that I'd always get picked on. I'd always get a bit targeted. I'd always seem to be thrown, and I just didn't. I think the year 7 I didn't have like many friends at all, and a lot of my friends were online. I remember playing, and looking back at it, seems really dodgy, like it does. But
Yeah.
I played something in year 7 and 8 with people that I don't know. Like, we were doing the mics, so they were kids, but it sounds really dodgy.
Yeah.
And I remember once as well, I didn't know these people, so I thought I can just make up, like I can be anyone I want. So I lied about who I was, as in the sense.
this is literally like a beginning to like a video for like a cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Don't meet up with strangers, stranger danger
But
campaign.
no, it wasn't even bad.
No, I know
But
you
like,
mean.
as in, I pretended to be like, so like, I went. So I played a bit of rugby at the time. So I found this like image of like this guy who plays rugby on like the internet. Like you play like U teams at like for like Saracens. I went, oh yeah, you see that guy? Yeah, that's me.
Oh my
And they
god.
believed you.
Believe me, yeah. So it wasn't anything bad, but it was more like I wanted them to think I was cool.
Cool, yeah.
I get what you mean.
Tried hard to try and like.
You think,
move
but
in,
it was just a case of I don't know. You can't really just put on one point about what it was. You can't remember the particular things about what it was. But it was just a constant, like every single day, things would be said to me. I didn't have many friends. And...
Did it get better from like? Because I preferred 10, 11, 12, 13 to 7, 8, 9.
I preferred.
Did it get better?
I preferred 10, 11, 12. It's just,
I think most people do because you actually got your friendship group there. You're 10, 11.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
I know a lot of people don't like 7, 8, 9 because you don't have the exams or whatever.
Yeah. Fair point.
Yeah. I mean, have I missed anything? Is there anything else you'd like to ask me?
I don't. Not about school. I don't think. I think
No.
And I always think I'm really not my confidence a lot. And so year 7 and 8, and I met my best mate, and one of my best mates was Charlie. I've been best mates since I was a kid. Well, not since I was a kid, since like 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And like I took those friends I was talking about in year 6, and I went over them initially, and then I just drifted for them because they were lower down. So with the grammar school, with the comprehensive, we had the grammar stream, the middle set, the lower set, and I was in the grammar stream, so I kind of separated from them, and they were just not very nice to me. So I kind of left that, and then I was kind of by myself. And I had Charlie, and he was my best mate, and he was probably my only mate. We've been with each other like for everything, and I think year 7 and 8, and then I think the turning point for me, I think, from where the why I am today is probably I went to this drama school, and I did it in like year 5 and 6, and then I quit. So I quit from about in year 6, so end of year 6 I quit, and then left year 7. I did 8 and 9, and that was a turning point for me. I think it just brought me out of myself. I was with kids that were a bit different. I was with kids that had maybe more of a personality, and I was having a laugh, and it made me feel really good about myself. And my mum also, I think it brought me out of myself. Yeah, I was a kid. You can't, but it's probably hard to be. But I wasn't just shy, and it was just. I remember the feeling just shit. It wasn't great, and I didn't have much confidence in myself at all. And I'd overthink everything. I'd take everything to heart. And I think it was a little bit of that because I took everything to heart. And then I did that. And then I think that was the turning point. And I ended up, because I didn't really want to go into acting. So I ended it in year 9. And then from then, life was just so much better. Yeah. And I think year 9 was when I really did have friends. So I had people like Jake, Ollie, like Lewis, Josh, Charlie, Dan. And they were like, that's when I shout out to them. So they were like my best friends then. Yeah. But as you know, best friends chop and change and things like that. So it's different. It's different now. But and year 9 was when it really did change for me. And then things still weren't great. There was still a lot. I wasn't maybe particularly overly liked as much. And I think it was in year 11 when I got dropped down from maybe year 10 or year 11 when I dropped down from I was H2 maths. And I dropped down to take, because there was higher and lower paper, wasn't there? Dropped down to take the foundation paper. And that's when I made more friends who weren't just because literally the only problem is with these set of things is you literally just experience these set of people.
Yeah, you do.
And then when you do GCSE, you meet more people, everything like that. And
because they always say like your friends are based off who you sit next to in class and who your teachers put you next to you in class. And you meet, as you say, when you're in different class.
Because the way I met Charlie, Dan, Ollie went to my old school. I've always met with Ollie, but because they're all in my form group. So that's how you meet everyone. And
that's the thing. In GCSEs, you do, because you choose options, you're doing the same things that you enjoy. Yeah. And a lot of my friends are now from GCSEs and onwards and stuff like that. So you do like clicking that.
No, but for me, I think it was probably year 10 when was probably. I think I'm probably for everyone, but that was when I really did come out myself, and is when I really started to things really started to look a little bit better.
So obviously when you got to what year was it? Obviously, you know what we're going to talk about at some point. But obviously, for those who don't know, we talked about it a few weeks back when John was last on the podcast. Obviously, it was like we ended up like having like a bit of a controversial.
Yeah, those aren't my views. Those aren't my views at all to the situation.
We do talk about it, but obviously, unfortunately, Josh's dad has passed away. Yeah. And what year was that in? What was it like?
It was the summer of the GCSEs. Okay. So he became ill when I didn't realise he became ill when I was doing my GCSEs.
Is that the World Cup summer?
Yeah. So he became ill when I was doing my GCSEs. But the difference with my dad is it wasn't just the fact he died. It was the fact that he was ill throughout. So he had cancer. He got cancer when he was pretty young. And then from that, he was just ill. And he had cancer. I think he had 3 times cancer 3 times in his life. And he was and then the third time, I think it must have been about 3 when I was 3. And it was like, if these last bit of chemotherapy works, he was only got 3 months to live. He lived, but he had to quit work, and then that kind of cancers are very much stress related. When you're stressed, it's worse.
Yeah.
So then with that, and then so he became a lot better, and when he died, he was free for 11 years. But the thing is what
as in cancer
free for 11 years.
Yeah.
And I think it's the untold thing with cancer, what people don't experience is when people think, oh, you're cancer free, that's it. No, it's not. It's actually cancer doesn't it doesn't stop when you're free.
Ruins you for life,
Some people
do,
but what you experience firsthand is I'd see my dad. He had a cough because he had chest bronchitis and he'd cough in pain all the time. Couldn't breathe half the time. And especially when it was not as much when I was younger, but couldn't do things like activities with my dad. I couldn't play football with my dad because he'd just be exhausted.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as bad when I was younger, but especially when I was in secondary school, and you look back and especially maybe when things weren't as great at school, you come home and he was just so ill, and it was even from year 10 onwards, it was very much he had oxygen masks. He struggled to get up the stairs. He'd spend his time in bed. He'd look ill. He'd still go out, but then he'd be in a wheelchair. It's not how you should see your dad with years. And me and my dad are massive Spurs fans, and Dad is, and I couldn't go to Spurs games with him.
Yeah.
I think the last time I went to a Spurs game with him I went to the Liverpool one, so 4-1, so that would have been 2017. But before that, I didn't go to a Spurs game from 3 years, and it's because I couldn't. And I definitely would have gone. And it's why it annoys me when people go, oh, you don't go to a games classic fan, but it's because I couldn't.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, Connor,
you would have done if you couldn't
afford to go. And we could afford to go. We were fortunate enough, but you couldn't go.
It's not that you didn't want to. It's the fact that you actually couldn't.
I just physically couldn't.
Was there a point, because you say he was cancer free for 11 years, but was there a point when he said, I used to have this in the past to you, when it then came up?
Because obviously you said it affects you for life.
It's something, to be honest, it does. And looking back on it, it's a horrible thing to go through, and it does probably. It makes you without thinking about it, but it's just something I was used to. It was something that I've been born into. So he'd go into hospital for a couple of weeks every 3 weeks because he'd become not every 3 weeks, every couple of months because he'd become ill. And it was just something you'd be used to.
Yeah.
You go in, he'd be ill, and he'd be like, but he'll be out in a couple of weeks and it'll be fine. And I think if you were to put someone else in that situation, they'd be like, fuck. But because you're so used to it, it's hard. And so you're used to it, you kind of just get on with it, and it's easy. And when my mum was me and mum were really, really close. And when you have that, I remember nights where Dad would be in hospital and we'd come in and we'd sleep, sleep in our bed and stuff.
Yeah.
There's that comfort almost.
Yeah, and it's because we were really close, and you kind of just used to it.
I guess when it's ingrained, it probably becomes less of a shock to say someone who's never had it, and then they get it, say their parents get it, and then you get to the point where it's my life is now completely different. But I guess at that point when it's normal, it's kind of
exactly. I feel worse. I feel worse for people that it just happens to.
That's what I mean.
I feel worse for people that just happens to. I was, I was lucky in the sense that I was born into it. But
not lucky.
Lucky in an unlucky situation.
Yeah, if you're say 15, then it happens, and your life changes.
Yeah, so you were 15 and
whereas you were used to it, you'd grown up with it.
I was 15, so if someone was 15 and your dad becomes really ill and they get cancer, that's a horrible thing. The whole life changes everything. But I was lucky in the sense that I was born into it.
Yeah.
It was something I've been brought up used to seeing, used to having that feeling.
Yeah.
So I wasn't necessarily a massive worry. And then when my dad died, it was weird because what period? So 2018. Before or after? When it started was in. So my dad died in 2018. It would have been, I don't know the exact date, July.
Oh, okay. So after
GCSEs.
Okay, yeah.
But it was happening in GCSEs. I didn't realise. I'm told the other day. So he died of TB, and the doctors told us he had TB on one of my last exams. But at that point, we didn't know it was bad. And it all started in October 2017. So me and Mum went away to America because my dad couldn't fly, so we could go abroad with him. Came back and he'd been in hospital. And it was always a chest infection with my dad, so it was just it was a chest infection. And you don't think anything of it. But looking back, he was in hospital he went in hospital for 2 weeks, every month. Every single month he'd go in. And he'd be like, he have these things called bags as well. So he would, because he had like, his body wouldn't just like any like
The cholesterol, like the thingy bags that you can put on your intestine.
I think obviously you've got IBS, so I think it's like people that have like more serious.
It's like Crohn's, innit?
Yeah, so people have like drips.
Yeah.
So like, it gives you all the energy and nutrients. He used to have that every night. And looking back on it, his condition really deteriorated. And I don't think at the time, but it was horrible. That last, like, I look back on it, and the way it was at home was horrible because he was awfully, awfully ill. I was pretty much, I didn't know at the time, but I was watching my dad die in front of me.
Yeah.
And it was, like, he was really struggling, and like, there'd be massive comments between me and my mum. My mum was like, come on, you can do it. But he was dying. We just didn't realise it. Like, and my mum always doesn't want to dwell on it because the hospital should have picked it up. Like, you are trained doctors. How do you not pick up that person has TB?
Yeah.
All the symptoms were there when you look back on it. We don't know. You should know, but they kept being a chest infection. And I think there's particular nights that stick with you. And one night I was spending with my dad, and it was my mum had gone away for holiday. And I think we were just sitting down, like, because it was, we couldn't do much. We had like nights in and stuff, and we'd always do like pizza or stuff and watch a film, which was nice. And I remember one night he came in, and and I think I'd gone upstairs, and then my nan and granddad rocked up, and I was like, oh right. And then he didn't tell me, and he called the ambulance, and like he didn't feel well at all. And I remember I got really annoyed with him. He got really upset, and it was just because I wanted him to tell me. He should have told me. But looking back at it, like, we'd have ambulances at our house every 3 weeks, every month. Like, he'd be really ill in the middle of the night. But the thing is, you're so used to it, you think nothing of it.
Yeah.
And then, so you finish GCSEs, that's great. And then we went to go to Centre Parks on the Monday. And then on the Monday, Mum comes in and she's like, oh, Dad's really, really ill. And you knew something was wrong. Because the thing is, my mum was so used to it. But there was shit.
Could you tell, because the amount of times you've been told he's ill, was there something different about it?
Yeah, he'd been in hospital. I think he'd been in hospital for a bit, and it was the fact he'd been moved to the intensive care unit, and so yeah, he'd been moved into the intensive care unit, and yeah, so sorry. So you moved into the intensive care unit, my mum was panicking. You knew that's bad. When you go into the intensive care unit, you're not looking great. Yeah. And the thing is, it all happened so fast. Like, he was dead within 2 weeks. And the thing is like, you didn't realise that. I just assumed he was going to come back out. So it was just another thing of me. And then you're like,
because obviously, like you say, you're used to it. You'll probably think, he'll be alright.
No, I do, exactly. And I remember rocking up on the train, and like, I think I was just a bit of not again. It's just the same thing, and we go up there, and it's like, this isn't the same thing, and it just went out so quick. There was a point where they were like, "Oh, he might be alive. He might stay alive, but we don't know how long he's going to have." And it's been like, but I do think that, and I don't share this with many people at all, but I remember I said to one of my friends, and it wasn't when my dad was ill. He was in hospital at this point. This might have been a week before he went into hospital. Or I said to one of my friends, and I genuinely said to it, my life would probably be easier if my dad died. And
that's awful.
It's an awful thing to say, but someone's sitting there and like, fuck, why would you say that? But it was because life was hell at home. Like, look, my dad was dying. Like, you're watching a grown man die, and like, as you're watching your father, who's only 50, being basically helpless. Like, he couldn't do anything. He was sitting on the sofa. He was going into hospital every night. He was in physical pain. Like, and you can't imagine what it was like for him. He was in physical pain, and I remember sitting there saying it, and looking back on it, and you just don't know, and it's like crazy.
It's not a stupid thing to say, because it's not a burden, but it's like we said with my granddad who died, it's like it's a burden on, like, well, for my sense, my mum who has to keep going up, for like your mum goes into hospital, it's just a burden at home. It's like, for him as well, his health. It's easier.
But it was the fact that, and I'm gonna be honest. Like, obviously, lose someone shit. Like, it's been. I haven't even got to the 2 years. What it's been like. It's been shit. But as in, like, long term, and especially COVID, my dad would have died anyway. Like, he had no immune system. He caught tuberculosis, which no one catches. He was gonna catch and die of COVID, so he would have died anyway. But like, in the long term, like, life was so horrible that it was just so much easier, like, for my mum and the whole family. They could have more of a life, like, my mum would have been left looking after him.
That's the thing.
So it was horrible, and like the 2 weeks was there's no real comment really for the 2 weeks. Like it really is just a case of it just goes far so quick. Like you just don't experience it. Like when you lose someone, it happens, it goes like that. You just can't really say anything. I mean, couple of standout moments. Couple of standout moments.
I was going to say,
Here's a half-time moment.
I have a feeling what was going to come here is a story that I was just going to lead on and maybe like leave that section of the podcast on that real nice story that you tell me about the F1.
I mean,
maybe say that till the end when we come to the end of it, but because that's a real nice story.
I was also going to say about the time that obviously he was dying, and I was in the lift, and I was in the lift, and there was this Indian man who was an Indian man. I think he was like sort of like a religious sort of person, like a doctor, but he was also like religious.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and I told him, I was like, I don't think my dad's going to make it and stuff. And he was like, well, we can come and do like a ceremony on him and like do like this thing. Like I don't know exactly what he was going to do, but he was basically going to like.
He's trying to make you put you at ease on him.
No, I think he was going to try and save his life up through like. I think he was
spiritual.
Spiritual.
Did he do it?
I was like, oh shit. No, I don't think he did do it. I think he was so lovely. I had no clue what he was doing. But no,
kind of comfort you because you're only young.
The whole 2 weeks goes so quick, and I remember like when I come home, and it's the 2 weeks that will always stick with you, and especially it was pretty much me and my granddad. We were there, and
were you at the hospital? Were you allowed to see him at the hospital a lot then?
No, because I made the choice because I think they were speaking to a doctor, and I made the choice to not see him.
Yeah.
I saw him on the week before he died, but I made the choice not to because he was like the one thing with my dad is I wish I didn't see him like he was. Because I've got a video on my phone now, but like he was in an awful state. Pretty much nothing but bones. And he said he didn't want. He wished he didn't see it. So I didn't
it's just he doesn't remember him like.
And obviously you want that thing, and that I'm so glad I've got that moment. And it would have been ruined if I had something else. So it was pretty much me and my granddad spent the week together, and I was at home, and Mum came in, and she was like, he's dead. And I think when you, as a someone who's not had someone that's passed away, you probably think, oh, you cry and you're sitting there and you're distraught. But I just sat on my bed. And it was like fuck. And I told my mates, and one of my mates went, Ryan, I went to him. Oh, he's gone. And he put where? He's gone, but where? It's so funny, but yeah. And then like I watched the F1 Grand Prix. That was and then that again was so lovely because I loved F1. My dad, he was so fit, and I watched the British Grand Prix. And I just went out with my friends, and I went out with Martha and Flo, and we just went out. Really, I made a joke. I used past tense with the whole dad thing again. That's the first time I used that. But I think with that, and then you kind of just get on with it.
How did it sort of not shape you, but sort of when you were doing
dealing with grief, isn't it?
When you were doing like GCSEs, obviously that wasn't in the 2 week build up. Did it have an effect on that? And then also afterwards, what was like the initial going back to school and stuff and that kind of thing? What was it like then?
I think people. The thing I say with it is with this sort of grief is it's not traumatic. I think there's both sides. It's not traumatic. So there are things so much worse in this world. I lost a dad. And again, I think losing a dad at 80, death is death, but at the same time, when your dad's 80 and he dies, you've had a life.
It's on its way. Yeah.
And one of the hardest things, especially when it's done, that I've had to come to terms with is, I had 16 years of my dad. That is it. I've now got to go to 90, so I'm got to go 80, 74 years without seeing my dad. He's not going to see my achievements.
Yeah.
He's not going to see my kids, my family, anything like that. No memories. That is it. That's a horrible feeling to have to with, but it's something that's not. There's so much more that can scar you.
Of course. Like
there's so much more. You've got things that you can have horrific deaths where people have car accidents.
Tragic out of nowhere.
Yeah, like tragic. Yeah. Well, this was out of nowhere. It was because it happened
of course.
Like it was like you can have horrific deaths. You've got like cases like like rape,
freak
and
accidents.
Things
Like,
but like, things like rape and like abuse and like things like that which scar someone. And again, it wasn't even the worst type of death. You said you can have freak accidents, but I think the thing with this is it will get better, but at the same time, it's never going to change. Things will move on with other types of grief, and things will change, and then but this will never change. That is done. Yeah. I think the hardest. I'm one to say that. Of course, it's hard. I'm not going to pretend it's shit. The 2 years that I've been through, past before uni, had some really, really horrible moments. but it's there could be a lot worse. And I think two things I'm extremely lucky with, and why I'm how I am today. There's no debate. I would always still be here.
Yeah.
Though I mean, as in like you can get quite depressed and down. The fact I've never been depressed and down. I think initially, friends are massive. Five friends: Ryan, Charlie. Ryan, Charlie, Louis, Flo, and Martha. Absolutely massive. Absolutely massive in the fact that when he was dying and afterwards, not even the fact that I wouldn't even necessarily talk to him about it, but to have somewhere to go. They'd always be there for me. We'd always do something. And I've got, I'm still close with them. I'm not as close as I was. Charlie, again, I still class Charlie as my best mate, and Ryan and stuff, but I'm not as close as, there's no denying I'm not as close as I was, but I'll always hold so much gratitude to it. Because, and even like Flo's family as well, I spent a lot of time at like Flo's house, and like, even that was just so nice to have someone like a family to go to, and I hold like so much gratitude because just having that escape, having somewhere to put your mind away and go is massive. And family as well. Yeah. I'm a massive believer, and that's what the two things those have taught me is if you've got family and friends, you'll be fine. You can get through everything. Yeah. Family is the fact that like, and I feel sorry for people that don't have family support. I really do. And I think you can tell people who haven't and people who have, because family's massive. Like just having someone to talk to, having somewhere safe to go home to, having to get them together. Family's massive. I know so much to my mum and so much to my nan and granddad, and even like family, friends and stuff for that. Two reasons. And then I think since then, and then you kind of just go on with it. And since then, I think I owe a lot to, I think I owe a lot to my ex. I owe a lot again, at that right place, right time sort of me. Yeah. Especially in sixth form. And I think, again, still those friends there, like Ryan, Charlie, and also my mate David as well. I wasn't necessarily as close to him when it all happened, but then having that friend as well afterwards, is just massive. Yeah, but especially the relationship, like sixth form. I portray obviously a very I am happy, and I'm like you said, the stuff you said at the start. But sixth form was shit. I'm not gonna lie to everyone. I'm not a lot of people do know it. But sixth form, I struggled a lot at sixth form. I'd rock up to school most days, and the biggest issue I had when I lost my parent was who I am. Everyone goes through that stage in their life at some point, but generally I knew who I was before, and someone dies, it just completely throws everything out the window. And I'm sitting there most days, and you just don't feel yourself. I was like, I don't know who this is.
You've lost your dad, haven't you?
You don't know who this was, and it was a case of just trying to find it, and it was when is this going to happen? Because every day I go to school, and every day I just wouldn't feel who I was. It's like a cloud hanging over you. Yeah. You get on with it, and you have moments of happiness, and probably I was good, but I didn't know I wasn't. That's not knowing who you are is one of the worst feelings in the world. It's horrible.
What was the school's reaction to it? And what did they do? Did they do anything to help you, or did they see you were down? And did your mum have to contact the school?
The school knew, and I think I did really well on my GCSEs. I smashed it. GCSEs are massive in the sense that I've never been the most intelligent kid, but I work hard. I work hard, and when I want something, I'll work for it ridiculously, and I go about it in a very quiet way. I won't necessarily brag about it. I won't mention I'm doing well. When people will go, I'm doing this and that, I'll go, well, I'll mention it if we're having a conversation about it, but I'll just go about it quietly. And I smashed my GCSEs. I wasn't. You're right there, kind of.
I've been trying to move closer, John, all the way through this podcast to try and stay out this window here. No,
you can move up.
So I'm just gonna firm it. I'm just gonna firm it and go this on. It's probably gonna be crap on the camera, but I'm just going to firm it.
But no, it was just like. The school, and I smashed my GCSEs, they didn't know, they didn't expect I'd be there. Yeah. Just a slight flex.
I was going to say, in all fairness...
I was put on the wall. In all fairness,
fair play to actually, doing them and to smash them as well.
I wasn't thinking, the stuff with my dad, pretty much all happened 2 weeks after the GCSE, so it wasn't directly affected it.
It's still a valid reason.
So it's sixth form, that's maybe a reason why you hate sixth form, because all the shit you went through in that summer...
I didn't hate sixth form. I did enjoy sixth form. I had good memories, good moments, good laughs, and I think that and I'm still, I'm not going to sit here and again say that it was
the best
one
time of your life.
I'm
Like,
not, no, but even I'm not even going to say that was the worst. Like I can imagine that there was people that have gone through a lot worse, and I can even imagine at that sixth one there was people that felt a lot worse. Like I did it. It was horrible, Finn, but at the same time I had good memories. I did have good times.
Yeah.
And overall it was decent,
Yeah.
but it was just the feeling of it was horrible, like rocking up every day and just
shit. Yeah.
no, it was just because it was a case of when is this going to end?
Yeah.
When is this going to end? When am I going to feel who I was again? Like, when am I going to feel like that?
I know this might sound deep, and you can cut it out if you want, but like the way you said that, do you feel like you have found yourself again?
Yeah, without a doubt. But I didn't. I thought it would come when I went to university. It didn't. And that was very hard for me.
Yeah.
It didn't. I thought, okay.
Because I remember when you were struggling around the October time, because there was
It was a bit later, wasn't it? It was after my final. It was like November, wasn't it?
Halloween, wasn't it? It was about Halloween.
Yeah,
Was it
it was like the last couple of
peaks.
nights of the actual pubs being open.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember you being here, and I remember you were really, really struggling, and obviously,
I think but the thing is though, I think that was just a case of. It was a case of I took responsibility for that. I think the way I was at sixth form, that wasn't I was doing the most I could.
Yeah.
But at that time, I wasn't. I was going to bed late. I was. I was. It wasn't. But it wasn't. I'm not gonna. But it wasn't great. It was a lot of like thing, and that was a case of my life was not great. Like myself, I wasn't like managing life the best.
Yeah.
I think to be happy, you've got to be very disciplined.
managing yourself, haven't you?
Manage yourself, and especially with the fact that I think when you're far away from parents as well, it's a massive culture shock. It's like you have parents to keep you disciplined, but it was all on you. And then over the holidays as well, I went home for ages, and that was okay. And then I came back and I made an effort to really go to bed a decent time, wake up. I think shorthand getting up at 8 really helped.
I agree.
I was gonna say, when you go on about like staying up late and that kind of thing, I think in a sense you can't blame yourself for it because you forget like we're in a pandemic. It was a shit situation and like you couldn't go out. And when I was staying up late, it was almost like I wasn't blaming myself because
You still live for the sake of staying up late.
it isn't your fault.
But I think it was though, because I think I was going to bed at like 2, 3 in the morning. I could go to bed at 12. Weekends, I was going to bed at 5, waking up at 8. Weekends and stuff. So I could I wasn't doing work.
Yeah.
I wasn't maximising everything.
That you could do, yeah.
Like I that was my fault. And I came back and I really put in the thing. And I think it's just all about being resilient.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done. I think you need a massive support around you. And I've got like you guys, and I've got my family and stuff. So I think it's easier said than done about being resilient. I think people say, "Oh, be resilient." It's harder said than done. Like you've done that because you might have had good support around you.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you haven't got that, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
This is where grief is so different because I like a standard question would be how do you deal with grief? But I don't even think that's worth asking because it's so different to
it's so hard
your
to describe,
situation.
isn't it?
It's actually
context.
It's
context.
It's a shit question to ask because it depends on you.
When you I think you all have this image of grief in your head before it actually happens.
Yeah.
And it's just not what you think.
No,
it's like it's completely different. It can literally be anything. It's how
you
you deal with it.
Emotional, can you?
For me, it was more of a case of it wasn't consciously affecting me. Something would set me off, and then I'd get sad about that, and then it was a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it is hard. It was hard, and it still is hard. You learn to live with it. You learn to just get on with it, and there are moments where you do it's a bit sad, and you do get down about it, and the fact is, the reality is, I'm never going to see my dad again. I think if you were to think you're never going to see your dad again, for the rest of your life, it's bad, it's hard, and I think that is the reality. And I think the biggest thing for me at uni was, and I think I've said it to you lot as well, is it's the case of obviously you are happy the fact that not everyone it's a fresh start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not everyone was. I was happy to an extent, but at the same time, what I liked the sixth one as well is people knew what you've been through. People have seen it.
True.
People have seen where I've come from.
And there's a reason for why potentially if you're having an off day, people would know why.
And people understand because they've seen you go through it. People at school have seen me every single day. They've seen it go on. We're at sixth form. We're at uni. I'm not trying to throw, but it's like it never happened. Let's be honest. you guys couldn't, like, we're at school, they know because they felt it, like, with, like, they do know it,
no,
especially my close circle, like, you guys have no clue, like, you didn't know me at all. Before, so I feel like it's very easy for things, and it is kind of like, it can be shy, it's not easy, but it's a lot better now, and it's just one of those things that you do get on with, but at the same time, it's not great, and there have been some bad days. There have been times where you're a bit like, oh, but it's just that I'm very lucky to have the people I've had around me, and I'm very lucky to have just kept going on and keep sticking to who I was, and keep turning up to school every day, having a laugh with my friends, putting in the work, and just keep going. But like I said, the biggest thing for me was that sort of that identity crisis. Like, am I ever going to be me again? Who am I? And it was the case of, I've gone from someone who was so bubbly and happy and so just who I am. But it was, and I did that, but that was that struggle. Like, even now to an extent, and I think everyone has that, but it takes a lot of effort. Like, to be that at school, it was taking so much effort. I thought it was so natural. But I was having to be giving 100% every single day to just reach that, just to do that.
To get to you,
just to be me. And that was the massive thing I struggled with. I think, for me, that's what grief was. Grief affected, really shook me to who I was, and I spent 2 years at sixth form and even a bit here wondering, and it's so scary wondering if you're ever going to get back to you. And I think a bit of you've got to think, I'm never going to be the same person.
No, you're not.
I'm never going to be the same person.
You adapt it. You can't say
adapting. The girls think I'm immature, but you should have seen me 3 years ago.
I was going to say, I'm trying to think, if this is a toned down version of you, then what the fuck were you? No wonder they tied you to a fucking tree, do you know what I mean?
But so I think this is a toned down version of me, but I am there. And I think I've got people to thank that I would always be grateful for. I've got people even like maybe people that aren't in a circle, I'm in a circle at school, you have people like Malik, kind of like, Ryan, Charlie, Martha and Flo. I don't know, but like even to a sense, and like, you don't know, but then even you guys as well, and even like Maddie and Jess a bit more so later on, and like my ex as well, we're not not together anymore, but that's why she's my ex. But I owe a lot to her. Yeah. In the fact that it was in a time where I wasn't sure who I was. Yeah. And maybe, who knows, like, where I would have been if I didn't. And it was somewhere to have someone. Yeah. And to kind of have that thing of somewhere to comfort and love and, like, something to go. So, I owe a lot to her as well. And I owe a lot to a lot of people. And it's something that I will never forget. And it's something that obviously I'm very motivated, you guys know, and I want to achieve. It was a cat again. But it's something that I think I won't ever forget, and it's people that I will repay on the future because they've done so much to me, something that I can never ever repay. And even though we're not the closest, what they did for me is...
I was going to say, when you think it's obviously awful for you dealing at 16, 17... But for them to try and help you, not understanding it, and be at 16 as well.
Well, like my friends like Ryan, Charlie, and Louis, they all, and then I think Dan came in. And like Dan maybe wasn't all the closest time. Even like they all came to my dad's funeral. Yeah, and like things like that. A Flo as well. She came to my funeral. I know Martha would have come as well. She was on holiday. And like things like that just go.
Mean a lot, little things, isn't it? It's little things.
Just doing things as friends, and I will never be able to put into words. Like I said, we're not the closest, and I have my ups and downs with Brian now and then, but I will never be able to put into words
what he did for
how
you.
Much all of them have done for me, how grateful I am. Because I am extremely grateful, and it's just one of those things where you'll never be able to show your gratitude really and put it into thing.
That's nice. I feel like before we got that section of the podcast, I'd quite like you to tell that F1 story, because the F1 story is nice. We alluded to it earlier on, but this F1 story is really nice. I really like this.
The F1 story is very much so. I was always massively into F1. My dad, and it was our thing, and that was our thing. We never could do much, so we had a couple of things. Tottenham as well. It's why I'm so passionate about Tottenham, and I don't know whether you guys will feel it as much. I know obviously that's your thing with your dad football and your dad. I know you're always texting your dad, and having not having that around, that was another thing that was really hard for me. Was the fact that I was watching Spurs by myself. It was that. It was the fact that like I'd still watch Spurs, but like I'd come to a a kickoff and my dad's not there. My dad's not watching it with me.
It's like a reminder. It was like a
That's sad.
reminder.
Like I think that is sad. That is. It's just like I'm doing it, but I'm like, I don't know. You can't put it into words because that was our thing. That we love Spurs together. We'd always talk Spurs
And F1 as well.
I think you know what? I think I did. I think it really did affect me, Spurs. And maybe I wasn't having much as love for them. Because I just didn't have anyone to talk to, and that was so hard as well. The fact that I have all these things to say, but no one to say it to, and I couldn't we and Dad would watch a game, and he'd be in bed, and I'd sit next to him, we'd talk Spurs and everything.
Yeah.
I'd come in and we'd talk Spurs.
A little moment of normality almost, away from what you were,
But just that was our thing, you talk Spurs with your dad, but
I don't.
Sorry, Lee. Sorry, but you talk.
I'm telling them they don't deserve to be in the European League.
I think it's little things like that, and that's things people don't really see with grief. Is like things like TG. He calls his dad after every match. You text your dad after every match. You call your dad after.
I was gonna say,
match.
and I don't want to. I say bet out TG, but we were talking about it, and we were saying if you, I don't think it was actually related to you, but it was more like, can you imagine not going to a game without your dad?
Yeah.
And I was saying, I think I've been once, and I know he's going to be there after the game, but it still feels wrong. It's weird. So I don't know on the level.
That was the worst thing for me, was the fact that I can never, and that is the thing about grief when you really think about it. I can never call my dad again. I can never speak to him again. I'm never going to be able to speak to Spurs with him, and that was the hardest thing with Tottenham. Especially with the Champions League run in particular. Champions League run was incredible. But can you imagine what that would have been like my dad? My dad has supported Spurs all his life and would have seen like that, how incredible it was. So that was the hardest thing. And sports in general, F1, we'd always watch F1 together every Sunday. Football F1, sit down together. Can't do that anymore. But that again, that's another thing. I think that and the football aspect of can't call, can't text with my dad, so it's all by myself. And I'm so passionate and I care so much about Spurs because that is probably the Spurs aspect of it, and F1. I watch every F1 race, watch every Spurs race, because that is probably the closest I feel to my dad. That was the thing we did, and I think I get, I'm not in any way, with mates, I'm not in any way calling her out for anything, but I'd watch Spurs, and I'd want to watch them every game, and I'd say, and she knew, and a bit, and I maybe wasn't as open with it, but I want to watch them again because it was the thing I did with my Spurs in every F1 race. She used to get really frustrated. It was it's just Spurs. Every match is an important match. But that's because watching that and watching Spurs is the thing. I do get comments in the way I celebrate and stuff like that.
But I was going to say, do you feel like you're celebrating for you and your dad?
I've always been like it. I've always been passionate about Spurs. I always have.
Because of that famous video of you in the Champions League.
Exactly. That was that Champions League semi-final. I've always been passionate about Spurs. But I think I'm more passionate with it. But the fact that that is that on mine and dad's thing. I'm celebrating. It's Dad, come on, that's why I love it, and that's why I get so emotionally invested with it, because it was my thing, and my dad, it was a thing we love. And same with F1. It's a bit different because Spurs was our love. But with the F1 story, it was it is a nice story, and it's one that I will always cherish forever. And everything's big. I don't know about when anyone else thinks, but I think. Maybe it's because my dad was ill, so I'd always think about last moments. I don't know whether you guys think about last moments.
Yeah.
And
I do a lot.
Yeah, and and that's a big worry, because it's a bit what's the last moment's going to be? I don't know if you watch How I Met Your Mother, but I don't know if you've ever watched. You ever watched How I Met Your Mother? Harry would have watched it. I feel, and it's when Marshall's dad dies, and it's he didn't have a last moment. He was so worried. He wanted that perfect last moment. I think so many people worry about it. And some people don't get it. Some people don't get to the hospital in time to see their dad. I know so many people. I know my nan goes next door, but he was saying he never got to the hospital with that last moment with his dad. But I'm so lucky that I had that. So and it's just fitting. So the story was the F1 race is on Austrian GP. We this is my dad. This is the first time I've seen him. We sit down, and I'm like, oh, Dad, you want to watch F1? And at that point, he's not really with it. He can understand, but he can't really communicate. He was like, in the way he would, yeah. And, I put it on my phone, and I put it on his leg sort of thing, put it there, and he wasn't particularly with it. He was kind of drifting out. But it was that moment where we got to watch 25 laps of the F1 together. And the fact that was the last thing I ever did with my dad was so fitting. And I love that so much, with the fact that it was... With the fact that it was that kind of that love, we had that thing and we got to watch it together, and that was an amazing moment for me, and that's something I always treasure. and it makes it easier. And I think we're moving away from the segment, but I think for people going through it, I think just talk to people. I understand why people don't want to talk to people because it's hard.
Yeah.
But talk to people because it will make your life 1,000 times easier. Even if you don't care about, I don't want to put a thing on another person. They won't care. If they're your friends, they will happily speak to you about it. They don't have to say anything. Just get it out there. Just speak to them about it. And whether that's family and counsellors as well. I know some don't like counsellors, but just get a counsellor. I had a counsellor for a bit. And it was the best choice. I didn't have it immediately, but when it was opening up, and we didn't even really go through about my feelings. We just kind of spoke and talked and stuff, and just talk to someone. It's what you need to do, and just know it does get better.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe in some cases, but it will get better if you're resilient enough. If you just think I've got this, and if you speak to friends, with friends you can get through anything. With friends, even if you haven't got family, with a close set of friends, you can get through everything.
Yeah.
Just talk to friends, and I think you'll be fine. But no, I mean, it's been shit. It's been hard at points. I've had great moments. I've had bad moments like everyone. It's been hard, and it does still affect you kind of now and then. And it's why I think I have a big thing about people kind of liking me because... But I do, but I think it's because I think I've tried very hard to be who I am.
Yeah.
And I try very hard to
You haven't lied to us about who you are yet, have you? Huh? You might not actually be Josh Bailey.
Yeah. You actually told me you were this rugby player online.
But no, yeah, I mean, try very hard to be, like, I try very hard. So I think that is kind of maybe why I'm a bit, thing. And I think, it's just, it has been hard, but it's worth it in the end. Because I'm here and I think people go back and I think people go, would you change it? I wouldn't. If people went to me, could you bring your dad back? Would you? I wouldn't. Because it happened, and it happened for a reason, and it's made me who I am today. Yeah. The person you're sitting here today is because of that, and it's part of my journey, and it will make me who I am. So I know I wouldn't bring him back because I just think that's kind of it's
part of your life, isn't it? It's a chapter of your life.
It's a chapter of your life, and I am. It's that your life is hard, and life will bring up shit moments. In the death's inevitable. Everyone goes through death.
Of course.
Spoiler, but your parents are going to die.
Yeah.
At one point.
It's a lovely way to...
It's a great way to end it.
Spoiler, everyone's parents are going to die.
Yeah.
I think...
It's inevitable.
I always said, death's death. It always feels the same way, but I think parents dying at 80 is a bit different to someone dying when you're so young.
Yeah, you said that.
Because you won't have that life together. But equally, there's worse things out there that have happened, and I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky where I am. I wouldn't change anything. I'm very lucky to have had the family I've got, the friends I've had, the fact I'm at university, the opportunities I've got. But all on merit myself, but also lucky, and I think there's worse situations to be in. So yeah, it's been hard, but I don't think I've ever. I don't do feeling sorry for myself. I think it's a family thing, and I think it's what we would do, but I don't do it. And in the end of the day, people are touch wood, but there'll probably be people that we know that will go through worse. Who knows what that will be? But I might. There's probably chances that I will go through something that which will equally be as in 20 years down the road.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
Life has ups and downs. You learn from them. You take it, and it's just be about being resilient. Part of it. So yeah.
Perfect. What we're like timings wise, John? What we? Let's have a look. What we're like?
We're looking at about 1 hour 4.
Because I think Josh covered pretty much everything we had on there.
A lot of it pretty much was covered because we're obviously going to do like Spurs and stuff like that. But realistically,
you spoke about that quite well.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
I think
Is there anything?
Just like one more thing, just sort of like for the future. Obviously, people don't know we are all studying journalism and stuff. I imagine that sort of career path sort of came from an early sort of age, but not in a sense to go back in time, but more for the future. What is your sort of? I mean, we probably know, but like, for everyone, what is sort of like your ideal?
Let's do a podcast.
Aim? Yeah, obviously, it's with us, but if it's not with us,
I mean, the thing is, I've always wanted to do this since I was a kid.
Yeah,
I've wanted to do this since I was about 10. It sounds silly. Like I remember I said it in like year 11 business, and it turned. I think it was Louis Binks turned around to me and Lucas, and they laughed. And they were like, "There's no way you wanted to do that since you were 10." But I have. Dad was a massive reason for that. I remember sitting down and like writing stuff down and. I want to do this since I was a kid. This is what I've wanted to do. And I think, again, I've been very, very lucky as well with the fact that I've had a focus. I think if I didn't have that...
The drive
if I didn't have that thing to aim for, I'm a big believer in. I think that's where schools fail. So many kids and I've seen. You see, we all see it firsthand. The kids that have got so much potential, or the kids that could go somewhere, but because they haven't got the goals and aims, they don't know where they want to go. They don't try.
Got a dream job, for example.
It makes common sense, and I think schools should massively help our kids in trying to find a career that they want to love and do.
Yeah.
And it makes sense if you have got a goal you want to achieve, you will work harder for it. If you didn't, you've always. I mean, I think you were at sixth form, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you
wanted
to do this since you were.
Massively. Yeah, there's me at like FIFA 11 commentating.
Yeah,
over my
same.
FIFA
Right.
games,
So
like, massively,
yeah. So like you wanted to do it since you were a kid.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's motivated you to work hard, right?
Yeah.
But if you took that away, you're not going to work hard, are you?
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I don't. And sort of what you're saying about schools. They don't offer journalism as a degree, a choice for you to do. When they say like jobs, they're like teacher.
It's a tiny bit of English language, isn't it? Journalism is a tiny bit of English language. You learn how to do news articles in primary school.
But in a sense, not necessarily just that, but like say like we want to do like presenting kind of thing. That's why we're doing this. But it's more in a sense they will shove teaching, accountant. Finance down your throat. They want you to be. There's no reason why we can't make money off this.
The thing is, there is money in TV presenting.
There is. Yeah,
it's so much.
It's not there isn't money. It's just not a mainstream job that I don't. In a sense, schools probably don't have the.
Good for us. I mean, let's put it into our jobs. I mean, don't say journalism.
Exactly, but schools probably don't have the experience in their teaching to actually tell them about this sort of job.
We had a careers advisor, but I just think there should be more advisor in just trying to find what that kid does, because I know so many kids that if they just had a goal and dream that they would have been so much more successful. And I think especially when my dad died, I think the fact that I had that aim, I mean the fact that I knew where I wanted to go, I wanted to come to Sheffield, I wanted to be a presenter. I think I had that. It massively helped me, and I can't really think about if I didn't where I would be, because if I didn't have it, I probably would have been like, oh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have tried as hard, and it wouldn't have been a focus for me. So I'm very lucky. And as for aims and goals,
I was going to say,
I'm very, things won't always go to plan, but I am very meticulous in planning. I think I'm not going to reveal my 3-year plan. I'm not going to do that. I personally discuss it with you, but I'm not going to discuss it with him, because at the end of the day, this is a competition.
Yeah.
And I think that in 5 years' time, so what? How old will I be in 5 years' time? 20.
Say after your degree.
I do know. So after the degree, I think I think at like 24, I want to be on that presenting board. That's where I want to be. I want to be I want to have like
get your foot in the door,
a small scale presenting job. Foot in the door at a company where I can get to the next level.
And you can build
27, I want to have my first main presenting job. On like not like main the mainstream, but somewhere people know your name. You are the main presenter of some show of some sort. And then 10 years down the line from that is when I want my first. Like if you're looking at like 37, that is when I want my first main
gig.
First gig. By 37, I want to be one of the most the household name. I want to be the biggest names in presenting. I think 24 foot in the door, kind of the mainstream. I think 27 middle of the road. 37 highest of.
Because the industry we're going into, you can't just go straight to the top. You've got to work your way to the top. That is the thing. And everyone says about doing an apprenticeship, and it might be good for some people. But for us, to have a degree to learn about the talent and the skills you need. I know we're not in a position to come back to running first year.
Yeah.
But if you're getting the degree and you're getting the talent and skills, and then you get your foot in the door at company, and then you can work your way up at that company and get up, and then eventually that.
The thing is with our degrees, it's not just a degree. That's it's not the thing.
It's a skill as well.
Well, I mean in the sense that have a law degree, geography degree, history degree. Maybe law's a bit different, but geography and history, you don't need experience in the industry.
No.
You don't need it. You're getting that degree. But with us, let's be honest, having a journalism degree isn't enough.
No,
we can have a journalism degree and maybe a little bit of experience, and we are not getting a foot in the door. So we've not only got to do the journalism degree, but we've got to do everything else.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've got plans and stuff where I want over the next 3 years what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
And what experience I want to go to. But I mean, so I think that's the thing. Our degree isn't just learning it, because that's useless pretty much. You could go somewhere with a history degree, but with a journalism degree, you rock up to a a radio station, they're turning you away.
Because
Because
there's
they
loads
want
of other
someone
people
that's
have
done this
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Which is why one of the reasons why we do this. Like, this is a big reason. Like, we love it.
Oh,
don't
yeah, I was
get me
gonna say,
wrong,
we really enjoy
absolutely
it.
love this
Yeah,
podcast.
at the same
it's like our
time,
little baby.
it just goes
Yeah.
hand in hand
Goes
at the
hand in
same
hand,
time.
yeah.
This is experience, and like even when we do the interviews, like by third year, if we've interviewed are interviews at the end of the day, right? So if we've interviewed 100,
No matter who it is,
if
famous or
if we've
non-famous.
interviewed over 100 people by the time we get to third year,
Yeah.
you know, it looks great. How many people would have interviewed 300 people off their own back? I'm not talking on Chef Live, or you know, in the interview people like
do
that.
go follow that as well because we.
It is true, and that is, but all universities have got that. Like, you know, all universities will
It makes you
interview
stand
people.
out. That's what you need.
But if
fun
we've
things.
got a podcast and we can say, you know, at the end of the day, subscriber count does matter, but if we can have people where we've had a guest and where we've interviewed people and show our presenters who show our interviewing skills, well, there's something a bit different because I can
these footage hours and hours. Already now, there's about 20 hours of footage on there.
But I can guarantee, I can pretty much assume that obviously this goes well and we still get guests. Hopefully the bigger we get, the more guests we get. But I can guarantee that there'll be a few people, but there won't be a lot of people that will have the experience of going off their own back and interviewing, like, you know, hopefully like 100 people. That's not, you know, I'm not being big-headed about it, but I'm just
That's what
saying
it is.
that's
It's fact, isn't it? Yeah.
So there won't be. So, you know, I think this is why it's very important to do it. And, you know, you've got the TikTok, which is good social media for you. You've then also got the Man United. You've got the Leeds hosting the podcast, which you'll be doing soon as well. I've got at the moment Hospital Radio.
We've all got a lot. Yeah, we all do a lot.
Which then, you know, I'll look next year to go and do more. Like, I'll do Hospital and then another radio on the side. So, you know, like, we're all doing something, you know, and I just think, I hate it when people go, and I'm waffling a bit, but I hate it when people go, when they go, oh, you're being big-headed. But it's like, no, I'm just proud of what I've done. I'm proud of what I've done.
Definitely.
Like, I remember at GCSE with my friends and stuff, and I did learn a lot about, and I don't really brag about necessarily what I do. I keep it kind of low-key.
Yes, I try to as well.
I tried to, because I learned a lot, like, even when, like, my GCSEs happened, and I remember, bearing in mind what I've been through, and I came out with grades, I was the only kid in the school that got 2 or high in everything he did.
Yeah.
And so, like, and I gloated so much, because I think he's been, like, year 11, obviously a bit bad, everyone doubted me so much, everyone would go, oh, Josh is going to do well, and, like, Ryan, he'd always go, like, oh, he's not going to do better than him. I did better than everyone. And that was massive. Oh, I did get a bit, you know, I got it, and I was like, you know, fuck you, I did it.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But I did it. But at the same time, I learned a lot of maybe not to do that. But at the same time, it was like, fuck me, my dad's died. I worked harder than everyone else for about 4 or 5 months.
And you got there,
I got there. I got the grades. So you know, but nah. So yeah, it's been decent. It's been fun. It's been a fun life. It's been a fun life to be fair. I've had a good time.
Let's quickly skim over the board.
Completely missed Monday Night Football, by the way.
Yeah, I know that's what I mean.
Should we just do the one board? I haven't.
Yeah,
Let's do the one board.
So right now on screen is the current board from the past episode. We didn't do it last week with Louis because of obviously circumstances. We were timing issues and stuff. We had to
get away.
Louis had to get away. He had a meeting to go to. Yeah, he was
Being a professional footballer.
Are we ending it on that? So should we first of all just say
our board pick.
thank you very much for watching. Anyways, we're almost at 100 subs as well. So if you don't want to
We
subscribe,
love you, man. We love you.
It's alright.
yeah.
It's alright. You know, it's been. I appreciate you guys, and I think. I personally, I don't think there's a lot of people out there that actually know a lot about like how like hard things are and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think there are a few individuals, and I don't think anyone will ever completely know. Like, you know, there are like
No, it's not been through it like you have.
no, but also the fact that we've all been through things like, you know, the stuff you went through with your ex, like, you know, that was horrible. Like, you know, and we'll get into that on your thing.
Yeah.
And the thing you had with Behind the Shed, horrible.
yeah, exactly.
It's horrible thing,
exactly.
isn't it? You know, traumatic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Awful.
thank you for watching. Our board pick this week is, should we do it on 3? 3, 2, 1. The
European
European
Super
Super
League.
League.